Hello, YouTube. This is Latte Punch again, and I'm back for part two of this two-chapter story, Princess of Friendship, with chapter two called The New Beginning. So let's get started right on that. Positioning. Check. Corporal integrity. Confirmed. Twilight Sparkle smiled and shook from enthusiasm. I finally did. Everything is precise. She took a deep breath. Let there be time. Applejack cringed, then looked around. Every pony all right? Oh, Applejack. Twilight's pupils dilated. Worrying about others instead of yourself, like you've always done. I really love that about you. She stood up on her hind legs and embraced her. The six of her friends looked at one another in confusion. She looked at them with love and adoration that masked a heavy weight of guilt. She had gotten them killed. No, almost killed, because here they were, standing before her very eyes. She had found a solution. Twilight, wait, we may not be out of danger yet. Applejack wheeled out of the hug and looked up at the rocky slope above the path they were standing on. Everything was still. Every pony panic! The rocks are trying to kill me again! The end is near! Screamed Pinkie Pie as she ran in circles among her friends on the calm hillside clearing under the stable overhang. Twilight shook her head. Not an end, Pinkie Pie. It's a beginning. We're all together, safe and sound. This is a happy time. It is. Relax, Pinkie. It passed somehow, Spike said, and looked at Twilight, narrowing his eyelids. I told you we shouldn't take this shortcut. What just happened is exactly what I was warning you about. Fluttershy stopped biting her lower lip. What did just happen? How come it's over? Yeah, where did all the rocks go? Rainbow Dash flew up and looked around. I swear there was a boulder here about to crush us all. I know a rock slide when I see one, and I'm sure I saw one. This one was a doozy. Tearing off the cliff, thrift. Pinkie Pie imitated the sound as she shook her hoof. Just as we were passing under it and gushing on the hillside toward us with tremendous force. Phoo! The rumbling echoing from every direction. Wham! Wham! Ground shaking. Shh! Shh! Stones flying everywhere. We all saw it, Pinkie. Applejack raised one eyebrow as she looked at her. Oh, goody, 'cause I must have blinked and missed it. Where did it go? I reckon the rocks stopped in an instant? Applejack closed her eyes and shook her head. No, rolling stones don't just stop. I honestly don't know what happened. She shrugged her shoulders. Twilight, dear, did you stop the rock slide with your magic? Rarity asked, raising a hoof and pointing at her horn. There was no reply. Every pony looked at Twilight. She just swayed her legs. With her jerking gaze, she switched from one friend to another. Her smile was almost reaching her ears. Twilight, Applejack tapped her on the shoulder. Do you know what happened? She bowed her head, slipped it under Applejack's neck, and brushed her mane against it. It's okay, my friends. You're all alive. Applejack looked down at her with eyelids wide open. Twilight, Spike stepped to her and gently tugged on her mane. I saw you teleport just before the rocks fell. Where were you? I saw you teleport just before the rock fell where you were. He pointed to a big rock embedded in the ground. The moment you appeared in front of Applejack, all the rumbling ceased. What did you do with the debris? She hooked one forehoof over Applejack's neck and dragged Spike in a hug with the other. Forget the rocks. We have one another. Our friendship is the only thing that matters. Twilight, what's wrong? Why are you acting this way? Fluttershy asked in a soft voice, as though she was afraid of the response. There's no impending boulder. Why is she assuming something is wrong? Clenching her teeth together, Twilight put her forelegs on the ground and took a step back. Nothing is wrong. Everything is certainly fine. No pony is getting hurt by rocks here. They don't need to know, whispered her own voice, echoing in her mind. This is a happy moment. I love you all. A tear slid down her cheek. She had saved them. She had saved them all. Fluttershy came closer and bowed her head to the same level with Twilight's. I can see that something's bothering you. Talk to us. We're your friends. We're here for you. You know that. Twilight's tears broke forth and she sobbed. I'm sorry I suggested the shortcut. I should have acknowledged it was dangerous. She lifted her head with a forced smile plastered on it. But it's okay now. Everything is fine. No pony died. I didn't mean to upset you like that, Twilight. Spike reached out with his claw and touched her on the cheek. I just think that you should have at least listened to me before rushing forward. Twilight's tears broke forth and she sobbed. I'm sorry I suggested the shortcut. I should have acknowledged it was dangerous. She lifted her head with a forced smile plastered on it. But it's okay now. Everything is fine. No pony died. I didn't mean to upset you like that, Twilight. Spike reached out with his claw and touched her on the cheek. I just think that you should have at least listened to me before rushing forward, that's all. Yes, I should have. Your advice has always been grounded. If only I'd listened to you. I should have talked to you more. You know I love you, Spike, don't you? I always act like I took you for granted, but deep inside you meant the world to me. He took a step back as if her gaze was pushing on him. His jaw dropped even lower. He took a step back as if her gaze was pushing on him. His jaw dropped even lower. Twilight raised her head. I love you all. I should have spent more time with each and every one of you. I've missed you all so much. Applejack leaned her head as she looked at Twilight. We love you too, Nellie. Twilight gasped and smiled. She sat on her flank and clapped with her hooves. But what ain't you telling us? Nothing is wrong. I didn't say anything was wrong, but now I know something's amiss. What are you hiding from us? I. Twilight looked away from her friends as she sobbed again. Rarity approached her. Tell us, dear. With her dainty hoof, she gently moved Twilight's head so she could face her. She looked into her eyes. We need to know. I didn't stop the rock slide. Twilight bit her lower lip. Pinkie Pie kicked at the rock embedded in the ground that Spike had pointed to before. The rock didn't move. Only her tail twitched. But it has stopped, right? There's not enough time. I've been over it again and again. Nothing I can do can stop the boulder above you in time. Not even replicating Shining Armor's shield spell would have worked. It takes too long. Sweetie, are you saying you're still in danger somehow? Twilight looked up to the clear sky. You're all here. We're all together again. I want to hug each and every one of you. She embraced Rarity. Rainbow Dash plunged down as her hooves connected to the overgrown path, dust scattered in all directions around her. I've had enough of your rambling. You need to tell us what happened, and you need to tell us now. With a smile on her face, Twilight approached her. Rainbow Dash half closed her eyelids. Twilight stood on her hind legs and extended her forelegs toward her. Putting her hoof on Twilight's chest, Rainbow Dash leaned her body forward and stopped to her approach. Talk now, hugs later. Dropping on all four legs, Twilight sniffled. Your proximity to the boulders means you'll be the first one to... She looked away. Then the rest. The first one of what? Rodash asked, her voice a little shaky as her confidence faded from the words. Twilight bowed her head and whispered, to die. Her friends gathered in a circle around her. Are you saying I'm going to die? She spread her wings, jerkily looking around. Twilight clenched her teeth and said nothing. They deserved to know the truth, but it gripped her heart in pain, just thinking about it. Are you saying that? Spike put his claws on her neck. Yes. She sought her forelegs to the ground. A smile drew on her lips again. But you don't have to worry about that. You're safe from the boulder here. Where is here, Twilight? Pinkie Pie waved all around her, then drew her pointing foreleg to her face and observed it. Twilight turned to her. Don't worry about it. It isn't important. Don't let anything get in the way of who you are. Enjoy yourself. You've always been good at that. I love you, Pinkie Pie. She hugged her. Oh, I can't take this anymore. Rainbow Dash fell on her back, extending her legs and wings outward. Twilight, let me know when you decide to stop being confusing. What am I? Pinkie Pie's mane flattened slightly. Oh, darn it. Now Pinkie lost her marbles as well. Applejack face hoofed. Pinkie Pie turned to her. Don't you get it? Get what? Applejack sighed as she looked at her sideways from within her hoof. None of this is real. Even we aren't real. Pinkie Pie looked at the ground. I feel real, Fluttershy whispered. You're all precisely real. I made sure of it. You made sure of it? How exactly did you do that? Rarity asked, her voice laced with a ting of distaste. I didn't know what else to do. She looked down at Rainbow Dash, who lay on her side, staring blankly at the sky. I wanted to talk to you again. She stepped over Rainbow's wings, spread out on the ground, and carefully moved her foreleg forward, gently brushing against the feather with her hoof. Her wing twitched, but she kept gazing up, ignoring Twilight. She sat sideways over the lying pony. Rainbow Dash's ears pinned back as she lifted her head from the ground and looked at the silhouette towering over her. I want to touch you again. Twilight crouched down and locked her forelegs around Rainbow Dash's neck. What the? Rainbow Dash jerked and shoved her forelegs at Twilight's side. I love you, Rainbow Dash. She kicked but couldn't get an anchor point on Twilight's body. Help! I'm being assaulted! Applejack jumped at the side and tackled Twilight off Rainbow Dash. The Pegasus immediately took flight. As Twilight lay on her back, she smiled at Applejack, slowly extending her hoof toward her. Talk! Exclaimed Applejack as she slapped the approaching hoof away. We'll have a group hug after you tell us, Twilight, if that is what you want, said Fluttershy. Pinkie Pie clenched her teeth together as her entire body twitched. Twilight looked straight up to the sky. Oh no, it's already happening. Every pony looked up. A black spot in the sky covered the zenith. What is that? Spike held his claw on Twilight's foreleg. I'll go check it out. Rainbow Dash flapped her wings and flew up. No! Twilight pulled out of Spike's hold and rolled onto her hooves. Get down, here now! Her horn charged and illuminated the surroundings. Enveloped in a magic field, the Pegasus crashed on the ground. Rainbow Dash, are you okay? Twilight stepped over her and looked up to the black spot in the sky. It was bigger than before. What was all that about? She hissed as she wiggled out from between Twilight's legs. Don't go up there again. It's dangerous to you. Twilight, Applejack raised her voice. What's that black spot in the sky? The end. Pinkie Pie sat down on the ground, her mane and tail now completely flattened and ears floppy. I'll tell you, but I will want to the group hug after that. Twilight smiled at Fluttershy, who seemed to be the only one who knew what the right priorities in this situation were. Rarity sighed. You'll get it. Just get on with your explaining. Twilight approached the big rock embedded on the ground. This was my entry point. It dissipated as she touched the hard surface with her horn. A glowing blue sphere hovered in its place. What in tarnation is that? Applejack asked. It's a portal to the nether realm, the place where my magic comes from. I've heard about those inner dimensions before, Rarity said. Every living creature owns one. Most can't access it directly, though. Do you think yours is encroaching on reality somehow? She pointed to a black spot that was now spread across a quarter of the sky. The sun was near the edge of it. No, Twilight shook her head. Pinkie Pie bent her hind legs, laid her forelegs on them, and leaned her head on top. Twilight looked up. It is the reality that is corrosive to all matter. I've conjured in my empty subspace. Just as magic scatters reality, so does form substance dissipate here. That's what's happening to the edge of my conjunction right now. The abruption will continue to dispel project matter as long as time flow difference and connection between my inner dimension and the real world exists. She looked at the hovering bright portal in front of her. So we're not in reality. We're all going to die? Rainbow Dash stumped both her forelegs on the ground. Is that what you're saying? We're not even alive, mumbled Pinkie Pie from within her forelegs. No, you're wrong. All of you are still alive, both here and there. There. Yes, in reality. You can see yourselves through the portal. Just don't touch it. It's dangerous to you. Spike slowly approached the bright, translucent orb and forced his eyes on it. And focused his eyes on it. He gasped and took a step back, pointing his claws at it. There's a boulder above us in the world on the other side. It's standing still, though. We are all alive. We all are. The inner time is separate from the one in reality. Since this subspace is bound to me, I'm also to its time flow. I can speed up the time in my inner space as a whole or slow it down just by willing it. I can even disconnect myself from the fourth dimension and stop time completely. It's the time flow difference between subspace and reality that is causing this friction. After the conjuring, I imitated the inner dimension time to flow. That's when the corrosion of foreign matter started as it rubbed against the static time in reality. Are you saying that you can stop the time whenever you choose to? Fluttershy asked, raising her eyebrows. She closed her eyes, and the time in the sunset stopped. Even the soft breeze ceased ruffling her mane. The silence she was all too familiar with engulfed her. Twilight raised her eyelids and walked among her motionless friends. She positioned herself right-angled to Fluttershy and willed the time flow again as she whimpered in her ear, "Yes." Fluttershy cringed. "I love you," Twilight embraced her. Fluttershy clenched her teeth and pressed her wings close to her body. Applejack approached the glowing portal. Rainbow Dash stomped her hoof. "No more hugs. Just tell us what's going on." The hole in the sky started eating at the sun. The land was darkening. "How can we be here if we're there?" Applejack asked. I wasn't ready to face it all. "Twilight, what did you do?" Rarity half closed her eyes as she looked at her. "I didn't get a chance to tell you how much I love you." "Tell me you didn't." Rarity leaned her head to the side. "I couldn't even say my goodbyes." Rarity gasped as she moved her head back. "You conjured us up, didn't you? Is there nothing sacred to you?" "I didn't conjure you. I copied you. Reaching into reality with my magic stream alone doesn't affect its time flow. I can spread my channels to the other side and touch the matter in the real world, feeling its essence without affecting it, you see. No effect can be produced without time, and I can't use the natural time flow. I'm separate from the whole reality dimension. In this subspace, however, I have full control. I can recreate every structure using conjecture building blocks. Every single particle that you consist of precisely placed in its exact mirroring position. I made sure of it. You're all existing the same as in reality. functionally wise. That's appalling. Creating us just so you can watch us all get annihilated by that rift. Rarity pointed to the starless black sky. The only remaining light was coming from the horizon, and the light emanating from the portal. You had no right to do that to us. I'm sorry I spent so much time looking through the portal, calculating every contingency. The result is always the same. You die, no matter what I do. There just isn't enough time. I can't save any of you. If only there was an extra moment for me to charge my horn, I could do so much. It'd be easy. But we are safe here, right? As long as we don't touch the big black thing above or the small shiny thing. Rainbow Dash flew just above the ground as she pointed to the floating orbs. What would happen if we did, though? Despite being yourself in your essence, your building blocks are still conjunction based, with no real matter to sustain your form. You would dissipate on contact and with reality. Only I, being from the material world, am immune to its effect. Couldn't you have stopped the boulder with your magic or teleported us all here when you were still in the real world? Spike asked. There are exactly 42 different spells I could have used to save you. If I only had the time to cast any of them, look from below the spear, Spike. He bowed down and looked through the hovering window to reality from the bottom. There's a rock on the other side hovering just above this position. The entry portal stands on the spot of my teleportation from the real world. I was lucky to get myself here in time. Self-transferring is the only spell I can do in an instant, and that was all the time I had. Are you stuck here just as we are, Sweetie? Rarity approached her. It's your portal, so touching it wouldn't end you, but the rock on the other side would. No, that's not a problem. From my subspace, I can form an exit point to a different location and avoid that rock. However, the moment I leave this place and step into reality is the moment time starts flowing and you all die. Here or there? Rainbow Dash held her head with her forehooves. Both. Everything I create here is an anomaly. When I leave, the subspace assumes its natural state, which is nothingness, while in reality, there's not enough time to save you from the boulder. So you created another world without the boulder. Spike leaned his head on his claw. You didn't teleport in front of Applejack as I previously thought. You only completed the first part of teleportation, then formed a copy of reality, with us included, in your inner space. Spike looked at her and opened his eyelids widely. That's a lot of conjuring. How long have you been in this place, Twilight? It must have been over a year for me since I entered my subspace. I had to get every particle right in its place, or it wouldn't be the same. It had to be precise, minus the boulder, and the rest of the breeze. I've worked tirelessly, surviving only on conjured nourishments. I want you all to know that I love you very much. She raised her head and shifted her teary eyes among her friends. I'm sorry I killed you all. The sky was black. Only the light emanating from the portal illuminated the surroundings. So we're all doomed? Rainbow Dash tensed her body. I can only save myself. But I'm too awesome to die, exclaimed Rainbow Dash, pointing her forelegs at Twilight. She smiled at her. I know, right? She bowed her head. I'm sorry. Everyone! Rainbow Fluttershy raised her voice and blushed right after. I think we owe Twilight a group hug now. Spike leaned both his claws on Twilight's leg. It wasn't your fault. You know that, right? He looked up to her face. You're wrong. I've been over this a million times already. The only reason we took this route is because I insisted on it. It is my fault. I would just like to make it clear that I don't approve of any of this. Rarity sighed as she wrapped her forelegs around Twilight's neck. You know very well that we would forgive you, even if it was your fault. It's what you did after that I find disturbing. You need to let us go, dear. Don't seal your heart within the void. Can't you do something, Twilight? Rainbow Dash wrapped both her forelegs around Twilight's body and pressed her head close to her. What if you stopped time? Would that make the darkness stop? It would make us stop, whispered Fluttershy. If there was any way to make it all better, don't you think Twilight would have tried it? She embraced Rainbow Dash with one foreleg and Twilight with the other. Stop being sad. Pinkie Pie stood up on her hind legs and leaned both her forelegs on Twilight's flank. You're the one who gets to live. You need to be happy for our sake as well. Twilight. Spike clenched on tighter on her leg. Applejack stepped to Rarity's side, sliding her hoof on Twilight's coat among her friends' hooves. So this is it, then. I love you all so much, Twilight cried out. There was no reply. There were no friends touching her anymore. She was alone with the portal and the stillness of eternity. Wiping her teary face with a foreleg, she raised her head. Twilight, it's time. She floated in the vacuum some distance away from the entry point. Her horn charged up. Spiraling fields of magic channels sprung the second portal from the nothingness in front of her. She floated around it, looking through it into reality. The viewpoint was beyond the turn path. It was a safe spot. She couldn't see her friends from this angle. Their faith was set in stone, but not Twilight's. She could go on. You can't hide from reality forever. She lifted her hoof toward the portal, almost touching it. You can save yourself. There's no reason not to. Her body tensed. Some princess of friendship I am. Teeth clenched together. She retracted her hoof, bowed her head, and fired a blast from her horn. Magic force shattered the exit portal. Pieces of it dissipated into oblivion. She turned and floated back toward the first portal. Her horn shone even brighter. Eyes glowed white. Spouting channels connected formed two magical streams. She extended them in the opposite directions, one through the source of light and the other one into the darkness. Facing the portal, she focused on the tree in reality jutting from the slope beside her motionless friends. As her stream of magic touched one of the branches in the shadow of the impending boulder, a leaf started to form in the void behind her. I'll make it last longer this time around. The end. That was a very sad ending. So yeah, that was Princess of Friendship by Bad Dragon. Like, subscribe, check out the story yourself if you haven't already, and the link below. And share this link if you want to. I'll be back next week. Thank you, everybody.